Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
Go to the church, though.
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, recorder. Did you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk. The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Mighty Global News Updates. It is a fresh day, the Wednesday, and September 17th, of course, year 2025. We are broadcasting live, coming to you from Uganda's capital, Kampala. This is the Alternative Digitalk TV, and my name is Kenneth Rwemirembe. We are here to tell you what's happening in Uganda and even tell you what's happening abroad. We believe you have to know this information. Thank you so much for coming to for watching us live. Depending on the platform you're using, we are streaming live from all our social media handles at the Alternative Uganda. We do give you unbiased information, the real information that you can rely on to make an informed decision. Of course, every morning, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. we always come in here to make sure we keep you educated, informed, as well as inspired. We understand you have to know everything that happens in Uganda, and not only here, but also abroad. We have a lot of stories that are shaping conversations this morning, and we are here to delve deeper into that. Of course, we understand that in the United States, this memorial service for Charlie Kirk will be now conducted soon, not later than 21st, according to the information we gather, 21st September, and we believe that the President of the United States and other top officials in the government of the United States will be there. But that story is not the only one I have. I have a lot of stories, but that will be part. Now let's dive deeper into what's making headlines, starting with our country, Uganda. Of course, we all know that the NUP is vetting MP or Member of Parliament aspirants in Uganda. The vetting process is ongoing. You should maybe understand that vetting has not been that easy for the NUP or even other political parties. Of course, we are nearing 2026 general elections, and every political party is fighting so hard to make sure their own is the one leading. Now, in NUP, previously when they were vetting councillors, things were not as good as you would think they would be. Of course, some people came out complaining, saying those who got the card actually were not the right people in their opinion. Of course, some people were not happy. Some said the vetting process was not fair enough to bring out the best candidates. They said the people who were on the ground were not considered. The most royal individuals in the party were not considered. Of course, there were those who were happy with what was happening, those who said they were happy with the vetting process, those who said they trusted the process. But of course, you know, some were not happy. They said the vetting process was biased, that some individuals were given the party card because probably they gave some money to the people concerned. But of course, the leaders of the National Unity Platform came out and cleared the air, saying they only appointed, or they only gave the party card to those who had the power of the people. Now, yesterday, of course, they were vetting members of parliament. We saw several individuals come out, as you see on that screen. They want to now take over as members of parliament. We learned that even top officials in the party were also there, including Joel Senyonyi, who is the leader of opposition and the incumbent member of parliament for Nakawa West. He was also there. We saw the Secretary General David Lewis Lubongwe, of course, come, and he is also contesting for Kampala Central. And of course, some people were criticizing this, saying that party leaders should not be part of the election, saying this is unfair, and some people are always left out because they are trying to compete with the people who probably have much power compared to others, especially those who have positions of leadership in the party. Now, like the Secretary General David Lewis Lubongoya, the spokesperson, and the very leader of opposition, of course, they said these people should be out. But when these people were speaking, Joel Senyonyi, Honorable, said they have done it well. They have done the party work very well, and they have done parliamentary work very well, so that you see no reason as to why they should stay behind in what they call the struggle. That this is the very time they have to come out and fight so hard and make sure the dictator is out. Of course, he said he has been appearing in his very area, Nakawa West, and he has done the parliamentary work very well. He has the power of the people. He sees no reason as to why he should not come and contest for Nakawa West once again. The criticism still remains that party leaders should be out of this race, of course, but it still remains a challenge. David Lewis Lubongaya, the same. He's also coming for Kampala Central, and he said he could still do the work very well if the people of Kampala, of course, trust him and he passes the vetting process, of course, although we have learned that he doesn't have anyone competing with him in the very party of NUP. But of course, that does not mean the race will be any sweet. We believe people out there are ready. Of course, people from other political parties will also be there to make sure they take it to the top and become probably the next members of parliament, of course, from any other party that will be successful. But the race is still tight. We also know that Shamim Malende and Zahra Ruyirika are also vying for the same seat as a woman member of parliament, Kampala. And we are waiting to see what the vetting process will say. When they were asked on what they would do next if they do not get the card, of course, that's a question that most of the politicians do avoid. They said they cannot answer that straight like it is, but all they know is they will get the card. Everyone says she will get the card, but of course, one out of these will get the card. But the question remains on whether these people will actually, the one who gets the card will be the only one who comes in this race that is from the NUP, or even the one who fails to get a card will now compete as an independent. That still remains a strong question. Even any other person out there would be wondering whether Shamim Malende would leave for Zahra Luyirika. That is, if Zahra got the card, or vice versa. If Shamim Malende got the card, would Zahra also, stand behind her and support her as the flag bearer of the National Unity Platform? But that remains a challenge somehow. That's a question they avoided, of course, as we know. We might see these people, not specifically these Shamim Malende and Zahara, but even other people coming to, become flag bearers of the National Unity Platform. We still wonder whether these people will actually accept the results as they are and support those who will be having the card, as it has been the gospel of their leader Robert Kyagulanyi, who has always said that they should always support those with the card regardless of any move or regardless of how the process was. But still it remains a challenge, like I told you in the elections for the vetting process for councillors. We saw many people coming out in large numbers saying this was unfair. We still wait to see whether this will be the same as it was for councillors, or even more worse. If possible, we may see some people coming out and in large numbers saying the vetting process, of course, was unfair. So every party is fighting so hard to see who takes their card, and they all have the same goal in mind, and that is to be in power. Of course, they want the person who will be having the will of the people, the person who can take it to the next level and find themselves in parliament or even in the council, depending on where they are contesting. But this is still a tight race as we prepare for 2026. Our eyes are very wide open to see what will be happening right there. And here at the Alternative Digital TV, we'll be here to bring that information to you. All you need to do is just one. Tapping that subscribe button, and you join tens of thousands of people that subscribe to this mighty platform. And not only those, including the millions of the people who watch us or who are our viewers, and that information is right there. If you tap our channel page and go to more, you see the information I'm talking about. Millions of people that trust us. Why not trust us and subscribe? Then be part of this amazing conversation. But now, leaving that alone, we have learned also that the opposition political parties are planning to bring one candidate on the presidential seat, of the one who will compete with President Museveni. This has been a challenge for most of the years, and we still wonder whether this will happen this time round. Amid this tension we see the PFF breaking away from FDC. We see some chaos in the Democratic Party, even in UPC. Most political parties have internal conflicts. Something would say maybe this seems difficult to happen. Of course, this is not the first time these attempts are made to bring one candidate. And this has been due to some people, some individuals who say that President Museveni can only be overthrown through election by bringing out one opposition candidate, which has failed for years. Everyone thinks they are the best fit for this position, and we saw the rest in 2015 when they were preparing for 2016 general elections. We see Amama Mbabas and retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye fail. We saw them fail to bring out one candidate or one to leave for the other, but we're still wondering whether this time round it will happen. Now, in PFF, Semuju Ibrahim, Honorable Semuju Nganda, said they were planning to see whether they could bring out one candidate. But for what we know so far, we understand that the NUP said President Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is their leader. And himself, Robert Kyagulanyi, said whoever brings the umbrella, whoever has an umbrella on their poster, should be voted into office in what they termed as the protest vote. Now the question remains on whether these people actually will have one candidate. Much as I told you, this has been failing for most of the times they have tried to make it happen. We still do not see any hope for these people coming together and bringing out one candidate. But we also know that the PFF is likely to second General Mugisha Muntu, the leader of the Alliance for National Transformation. Of course, we know that they signed a memorandum of understanding, so PAFF and Alliance for National Transformation are now more like brothers, and we see some future probably in, we may see PFF support General Mugisha Muntu. Of course, we learned that they wanted to even have joint presidential campaigns. They wanted to support each other and mobilize funds together to support these campaigns. But of course, that remains a strong challenge since even their leader, the leader or the vision bearer for even FDC, which came now to split and become PFF and FDC, the leader who's retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, is now in prison, is in jail. Of course, we still see that remains a challenge. It's still a strong challenge that is probably stopping these people from uniting and bringing one candidate. Of course, we know that from what we gather, if their leader, of course, is now the leader of eminent persons on that top committee in PFF, if he chooses that they support General Mugisha Muntu, of course, they are likely to do it, but of course, other procedure must be followed, and we will be watching it closely as well to see whether these people bring out the very same candidate. If it is NUP, are they going to support Honorable Kyagulanyi? PFF, Alliance for National Transformation, and DP and other political parties, will they come together and bring out one candidate? It's still a strong challenge. It's still a strong question. You and I are still asking ourselves, but of course, our lenses are very clean to bring that to you in case it does happen. But for now, allow me now cross to our other story. Of course, we learned that teachers were on a strike, and the strike, of course, was in some schools and others did not strike. These are especially the arts teachers who are complaining that they are not receiving enough. Of course, this happened after President Museveni said science teachers would be earning far much more than arts teachers. Some people were not happy with this. Some people came out complaining, saying this was totally unfair and they could not accept this. Under the umbrella of UNATU, that is Uganda National Teachers Union, they condemned this and said this was unfair, this would bring some disunity among teachers, would lower the morale of the teachers in classes. And this is a very critical time where we are in the final term, third term, where we do expect promotions. Some learners are being promoted from one class to another. Some have their final exams. So this is a really great challenge. We saw some schools close yesterday and some are, of course, open. We saw, while speaking to some teachers, they were like, they are doing it, they do not have any other thing to do. They would have to teach, though they told us their morale was still very down. The president, up to now, insists that science teachers should be paid much higher than these ones teaching art subjects. Now, from what we gather, the degree holders, science teachers, earn 2.8 million Ugandan shillings per month. And now, diploma holders, science, of course, they earn 1.5 million Ugandan shillings. Now, to the arts teachers, it is probably somehow unfair. It may sound unfair. The degree holder teaching arts, he earns 800,000 Ugandan shillings compared to 2.8 million Ugandan shillings earned by the science degree holder. Now, for the diploma holders teaching art subjects, they earn 500,000 Ugandan shillings. Of course, that's the main reason as to why they are striking. They are showing that they are not satisfied with this kind of system. They say there should be some fairness in this. Their salaries should be even increased. Of course, we saw some say they would at least choose to do their agricultural work, saying it could even yield more profits than being in class, and they still stay in poverty. It is a critical moment for the learners, of course, since it is the final term. It's a promotional term. We have the candidates preparing to sit for UNEB, the senior 4 candidates, of course, and the senior 6s. So it still remains a critical moment. The Ministry of Education was asked to be part of this, of course, and help these teachers instead of threatening them. The Parliament says they should not threaten teachers, but instead find the lasting solution for this. Time has never been our friend, but allow me to take you through this sad story probably. Of course, we have learned from the BBC release some days back that some Ugandans are being taken abroad, especially in the UAE, and being taken into sex working, of course, forced sex working. They come expecting other jobs, and after arriving in those countries, they find it terrible and more worse. Of course, we learned that some Ugandans, especially most of them, died there. We learned that Monica Karungi was from Western Uganda, so died in this same manner. The person behind this was identified as Charles Mwesigwa. This is the middleman who connects these girls, who gets them from Uganda and connects them to who he calls clients, or the people who take these girls and use them for sex purposes. Of course, we learned that he could provide women for sex party at a starting price of $1,000. This is total slavery of this generation. Everyone was really unhappy with this story. The government of Uganda, of course, has responded and asked the ministers to talk about this in the cabinet. This has not been the first time we hear rumors of such nature coming from UAE. Of course, we know we have been hearing that we have been hearing that some girls are being taken there and they are taken into sex work, of course, to work as prostitutes, and that's the only way they have been paying these people who bring them there. This is the only way they pay them back. So the money they get from this work is given to these people who pay for their transportation fee from Uganda up to those Arab countries. This still remains a challenge since unemployment is really high here in Uganda. Some youth are being taken out there and exploited, like I've been telling you, you see on that screen. According to BBC, they say this man has been taking these girls to these rich men, of course, who have been using them to do the most difficult things, even the worst. We learned that some have been defecating on them, using them in that horrible way, and paying money to these to their owners, the ones you would call their owners, the person identified as Charles Mwesigwa. Of course, we learned as well that these girls have now been introduced to drug abuse due to too much stress and depression. Then by some die from there and are buried. The man you're seeing on the screen right now is the person who has been behind this very thing of taking Ugandan girls to the United Arab Emirates, of course, to sell them as sex workers. Of course, the family of Monica Karungi was really bitter and crying, saying they lost their family member in such a manner. Some girls are still being taken in that horrible way. In a recorded phone call, we hear Charles Mwesigwa say that a new stock was being brought, meaning that new girls were being brought in UAE, of course, to act as sex workers. He was informing the BBC reporter, thinking that he was a client who was in need of these girls. So the situation is really horrible. We'll continue to dive deeper into this in our other stories or even some other day. But for now, allow me to take you out of Uganda and tell you what's happening in the United States of America following the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We have learned that A memorial service is going to be held at State Farm Stadium to remember Charlie Kirk for his work. Of course, Charlie Kirk was shot dead in the neck while speaking to students at Utah Valley, and the suspect was identified as Tyler Robinson. The President of the United States, of course, said they had him in custody, and he is the alleged suspect, or the one who assassinated Charlie Kirk while speaking. Of course, we have learned now that the event will take place at State Farm Stadium. State Farm Stadium has a seating capacity of over 63,000 people. Those are the people expect there. We still expect the President of the United States himself to be there, the Vice President, and other top officials in the government of the United States to be right over there. We also know that they are preparing to give the family of Charlie Kirk, of course, giving it to Charlie Kirk, but the award will be taken by the family. So we expect them to give out a great award to Charlie Kirk for his great contribution to the United States of America. The award is known as the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Of course, that's what we got from President Donald Trump himself. So this story is still, we are continuing this. We are keeping a very close eye and a sharp eye on this very incident to find out whether the suspect is proven guilty by the courts of law, or even what happens next. Is there any person who could have paid this man to assassinate Charlie Kirk? Of course, Charlie Kirk was pro-Trump agenda, and some people were criticizing him, and others were very happy, and they loved him so much. From what we see from some people, they showed too much love for Charlie Kirk, and of course everyone was condemning the acts of assassination that are happening even in the United States. Some people are targeting schools and assassinating schoolgoers. Some people are being targeted in these assassinations. Of course, the security will be tight right over there at State Farm Stadium. Secret Service will lead the security team over there. It is going to be strong, and to those who would want to participate in that service, they will have to register with their zip code, the email, and other information. Of course, this proves how secure this event is likely to be, of course, being that it will be having the very President of the United States and some other top officials. For now, it's been very nice talking to you, giving you the updates. My name is Kenneth Remile. The Mighty Drive continues with the Princess. She's coming in, but for now, have a blessed morning.